Hey, everybody, welcome to TV Chef Fantasy League, the podcast that also gets firmer with age. I'm your host and commissioner, Mike Cavalon. Joining me via Zoom today are my co-host, Sierra Cato, who is back from Italy, and Iffy Wadiwe, who is back from Denver. Iffy, what were you
Yes,
doing in Denver?
I went to Denver, Colorado for literally 8 hours so that I can eat at Casa Bonita.
Wow, the
And it
South
was
Park
worth it.
restaurant.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
the
worth
South
it?
Park. It was worth it. I would say, the wait list is for a year. It's the best. The number one way to get me to do your podcast is to be like, hey, there's a restaurant with a 1 year wait list.
Is that real? I had no idea the wait list was that
Oh,
long.
yeah. I had friends who grew up in Colorado and friends who are in Colorado who was like, what?
Oh my
I
God.
haven't been able to go there. What I will say, which I think a lot of food reviews always leave out, and I think it is important because I'm still, no matter how far I get in my career, I'm still for the the everyday man is
Sure.
value.
Okay,
It's my one argument for In-N-Out where people are like, "Oh, Shake Shack is better." I was like, "That's a whole different price point. We're not even in the
I
same
agree.
arena."
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we've said this
Per
before.
ounce, it's like
So
Yeah.
you prepay up front. It's $45 or $55 if you want a cliffside seat.
Okay. I'd say that's
person.
worth it. I would upgrade for
And
$10.
it comes
yeah.
with a entree, dessert, and like a fountain drink.
That's a pretty good deal.
Oh yeah, and then their horchata, they use a coconut milk base for it, which is like an
Oh.
interesting take on it. And then they have a root beer bar, which I think left a
Oh.
little bit more to desire, mostly
Wow.
because they had the drafts there, and I was real excited because I love draft root beer. But then
Yeah.
she pulled out like a soda gun and did, and I was like, okay, well that's
Oh.
not the same.
That's a
But
bummer.
their root beer is made by all the local breweries.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
yeah, but
Wow.
one of the ones we usually get, it's the Zap Fizz one, or the you know which one I'm thinking of. It's
I
like the
don't.
something fizz.
Okay.
Whenever you're somewhere and it's like seems like a craft root beer, it's
Sure.
probably.
Yeah.
And then it was from two other breweries. They were good. The food, I had a mole, really good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and there's like a puppet show. Puppet show was nice. The magic show. Oh yeah.
wow.
There's a roaming man bear pig. I saw that.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
they add in like South Park references now?
Mm.
So yeah, that's the new thing, is that there's like, that's the one like South Park reference, and I think there might be one more, but they kind of keep it true to the original.
Okay.
And
I
according to some
respect
of
that.
my OG Colorado friends, the food is kind of better now.
Okay. That checks out. Yeah.
So, but the puppet show is really cute. It like I was like, it feels like it heals your inner child. Yeah, all around had a great time.
Wow.
Just doing that. And now I'm back in LA in front of my
Okay.
computer.
Amazing.
Uh,
Well, I'm very happy for you, Iffy, but I will say, did the same podcast we discovered that
Yes.
and you were flown out to Denver to go to this beautiful dinner, and I went to Burbank Popeyes. But no, I'm kidding.
Well,
I
now
was
Mike
very
has to
grateful
do it
for
to
that meal.
see
Thank you,
what
Mike.
happens,
Yeah.
because it'll be even
Yeah.
funnier if it's like, hey, Mike, we have to try
We're
the
going to
Paris
Noma.
McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're getting first class to Noma.
Wow. Okay. Well, so Sierra, Italy's cool and all. It's no Casa Bonita, but
No,
give us the
never.
culinary highlights of your Italy trip.
Right. Well, I didn't get the cliffside Italy experience, but yeah. So went for a wedding, and so last we spoke, I was in Rome. We went to Naples, got some delicious, Neapolitan pizza, which honestly I
Perfect.
think might be my favorite kind. I had kind of
Yeah.
always liked that. It's the softer dough, and it was just very different than all.
Did you
All
go
the pizzas
to
are so different.
Lentica Pizzeria da Michele, the original?
Oh no. I
Oh,
didn't. I don't think so. I just
they
went
have a
to
location
we just
in
went to
LA,
a bunch
actually.
of Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I think I heard about that. Yeah, we just went to like, whatever one was
Sure.
around and was delicious. And then the wedding was in Puglia, which is like a region near the like kind of it's East Coast. And
Okay,
then
yeah.
Ostuni, that was like the kind of general town where it was nearby. But anyway, beautiful wedding.
How
Love to
was
be there.
the wedding food? Was it like,
It was
when you think of like American
great.
wedding food, you're like, "Mm."
Right. No, definitely like a whole nother level. I mean, they had, okay, well, here's the highlight, honestly, and it was at the beginning. They had appetizers where you like went up and got them, and there was a whole station just for cheese.
Whoa.
It was just a cheese station, and I literally filled my whole plate with cheese. And I'm lactose intolerant, but I took like 4 sheets of Lactaid on this trip, knowing and I think it is like a little different there, too. Like I think just ingredients wise, sometimes you're not getting as much. I don't even know, but maybe I just talked myself into it. But anyway, there was like a guy making mozzarella knots.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, the what burrata, it was just all really that was a highlight. But yes,
when
great, many courses, many good courses.
When it's being made in front of you, that's like when the supply chain is short. This is the in and out thing. When the supply chain is short.
Interesting.
One of my favorite meals I've ever had in my whole life. I studied abroad in Rome in college, and at the end of the semester, our Italian literature teacher invited us to her house, and she made us dinner. And the first thing she brought out was like these little burratas for us, and we were like, "These are so good. Where are these from?" And she pointed out her window at a shop like down the street. She's like, "Right there." Like they were making cheese there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. That's the fresh, I think, like specifically the bride of the wedding was telling us that like in Puglia, there is a place where they just wake up at 4 a.m. They make all the cheese and then they like deliver it to the different places that need it, because it's like it can't travel really. I mean it can't travel over a certain amount of time. So they just gotta, day of.
Amazing. America, you got to take some. I know we're a much larger country physically. We got to take some notes here.
Yeah.
Yes. That fresh day of stuff.
Oh man. I mean, that's a, not to get too hard on the tangents out of the gate, but that's something worth considering, right? Is how well food travels when you get takeout. And I think about that a lot.
Oh, I grade on a curve when I get takeout. I'm like, I've heard this restaurant's good. I'm going to order takeout because I don't feel like going to, Culver City or whatever. But I know it's going to be a little less good, and that's okay.
Yes. But when it's like on point, even like Songnongdan, when they're like that travels so well.
Yeah, because it's a big ass stew.
Yeah. I know. I guess that's true. A stew just as a whole travels well.
Yeah. In fact, the longer it sits there, the better it gets. Sorry, Sarah, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was saying, I mean, it's possible it couldn't, because like sometimes you get too soggy or whatever. But yeah, in that case, I think it's like a steeping, more steeping is better.
Yeah, crispy things is where I'm like, I grade on a curve because it'll never arrive crispy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if it's soft, true. I get it. It's fine. So on the other end of the spectrum from day of food, we have aged foods, which is what we're talking about this week on MasterChef. Let's go initial reactions. Sierra, how'd you feel about this episode? Your first one back in the States.
Yes. Oh, and I also did go back and watch the one that I missed as well. So it's been fun, getting a full MasterChef binge. But yes, this was really a great, I really liked it. I think, starting with the aged ingredients, that's fun. We've been I've been a little hard on them for leaning so hard into all the annoying generation stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that was like actually a good idea. And, I had a good episode. So I think that does also
you had
sway
a great episode.
me.
Yeah.
But no, it was really fun to see kind of like the fast pace of it and see like what exactly they were doing, and the little like Rebecca checking over the balcony and her wanting to like put that Stilton wherever hanging over your head was like a fun like suspense to have throughout.
Okay, love it. Iffy, initial reactions, hit me.
Oh man, I'm getting some Top Chef flashbacks. It's getting real spicy. Luckily, I'm flying, like I'm sitting in the bottom, but I keep popping back up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like you're getting a lot of personality hits. It's like no points yet, but we're still only 2 episodes in, basically, so I'm not worried.
Yeah.
But a lot of your players are getting screen time.
A lot of exactly. I was gonna say a lot of air time if we were playing
we're getting some tears. We're getting Mert does not feel long for this world. Mert seems like he is when I saw him fucking up this steak, and I was like, buddy, how do you fuck up steak? I was literally you're like, I'm expecting you to pull out stuff that, that's better than me on this show. And you're fucking up a steak. You're hitting it with a blowtorch when you have a perfect cast iron right there.
Yeah.
Why are you searing? And then the moment of Them coming was like, you saw that on TikTok?
Oh
And
my
he was
God.
like, yeah, I did. I
I
was like,
did.
yeah,
That was
Yeah.
great.
Uh,
I think that was such the shame with which he said yes, yes,
yeah,
and like
yes.
it's like he's been like so I think the contrast between last episode, this episode, his confidence, and
yes.
this
Oh,
one
yeah.
he's just been like completely, because he goes on the bottom last week. So that was pretty funny to see that little clip.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mert, by the way, is listening. He commented on our post.
Yeah.
What's
Hello,
up, Mert? How's it
Mert.
going?
Hey, how you
Sorry we
doing?
sorry
Love
we
you,
talk so much
buddy.
trash, but
I
that's what
mean,
happens
it's
when you get the
Look,
villain
blame the
edit.
editor,
Yeah, yeah.
Look, Mert Meals says Team Iffy all the way. Me and my girl Kamei won't let you down.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
And he didn't technically. He wasn't
That's
in the
true.
bottom.
He didn't. Yeah,
So, Mert,
totally.
put away the blowtorch. Let's get back to basics. I believe in you, Mert. I truly do. But we gotta
Figure
fix
something
it
out
up.
here. Yeah, yeah.
Hilarious. Wait, tiny Mert fact. His name is Christopher Mert. So he's another
Oh,
Chris.
he's another Chris.
And they had too many,
classic.
yeah, because they're like,
There's so
geeks.
many,
Geeks,
hence
you're
if you,
geeks.
when you thought Christopher was Chris and Chris was Christopher, right? Like that.
Honestly,
there's so
this
many
week I was like,
Christophers.
I think I did pick the right Chris. I think I picked the
Fair,
right
yeah,
Chris
yeah.
this week.
Wow,
Um,
I'm surprised not one of them
yeah.
goes by Topher,
Yes,
Topher.
Topher bang.
Classic Chris variation,
Mert rips in a way too, and I can see why. Like Mert is like
Yeah.
It befits his personality.
yeah, like you always want a Mert, like if you have a Mert in your squad, you're like,
Yeah,
yo, that's Mert.
I
I do feel like, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like if your last name is Mert, you have to go by Mert, or people are gonna automatically do say Mert. But.
Yeah. I caught. Look, I watched it live, so I couldn't rewind. I might be wrong about this. Did I catch him say Mert's in deep water? Did he refer to himself in third person? That's how fond of his own last name he is.
It seems like a Mert thing to do.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, but I totally checks out in my memory.
Look it up. I feel like that's a Mert move.
Okay. My initial reactions to the episode, I wrote, I feel like 80% of them kind of made the same dish. Like if you made a bell curve, like most of them just picked like one of the aged steaks and the black garlic and the aged balsamic vinegar. Cause I'm like, it's like the safest, easiest thing to do. You know what I mean? And so anytime someone went outside that, I got really excited. I got really excited when Jeet, she was making like kimchi fried rice and a fish sauce bok choy. And Joe was like, fried rice, that's the whole meal, which like, I get, that's valid criticism. But I was so bummed it wasn't better. And same with Christopher's dish, because I was like, at least it sounds different from just like a fucking steak and garlic and balsamic,
Well, even Fatima,
yeah. Terrible. Look, sounded abhorrent, but sounded different.
It was so funny because M was on, was on the fence about it too, and I was like, no, this looks very Nigerian to me, and she was like, tell me this looks Nigerian. And I was like, no, there's like a lot of red fish sauce dishes that I had growing up, and when they were like, it just tastes weird, I was like, I don't know, that's the one time I'm like, no, I think I want to taste. I want to taste. Y'all step aside, let me get a taste, and I'll tell you if it's weird. Yeah, because there is like a lot of, and it's a very like Nigerian thing to kind of have like a protein that usually would be like with maybe like fufu or like or jollof rice, and just throw it with like another protein, like the fact that it was in spaghetti. I was like, oh, I see the vision, but I don't think that the non-Nigerian mind can comprehend those.
That is such an
interesting
such an interesting viewpoint, because I had that exact feeling where I was like, she was describing the dish and I literally went, I cannot picture the dish. I cannot fathom what she is making. And it wasn't until she presented that I was like, oh, it's spaghetti and meatballs, but made with fish. Just like she was talking about it and she was just chopping the shit out of this fish. And then she talked about spaghetti and I was like, this is, it's like Mad Libs.
And then the moment when she was like, I've made this before, I'm like, ooh, this feels like a very specific, like just, those like childhood odd combinations that we'll bring up and go like, oh yeah, that was a weird thing we would make, but it's home, it tastes good. And I feel like this might have been one of those situations where like from a culinary standpoint, the flavors don't harmonize the way that they should. But because if you kind of grew up having those like strong fish flavors with like a whatever carb,
Yeah.
it isn't as crazy to you. Like I saw the
Okay,
the
okay.
wires cross.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
She
Interesting.
shouldn't do that ever again, but I saw the
Yeah,
wires
yeah.
cross.
The intention was good. Okay,
Yeah.
you brought up a good point. She did say she's made this before, which to me is not the same thing as saying I make this all the time. So I'm inclined to say
Not at all. Because and this in why I'm so clear about it this time is because the idea of this is like you say it out of confidence. Like I make this all the time. And she
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
saying this out of a lack of confidence where she's like,
Right,
well, I've
right.
made this before. I don't know why it's on the bottom. I was like,
Yeah.
well,
Okay, so this is sort of a larger point about the episode. One of our rules is saying like I don't cook with this a lot. And um I the point of these ingredients is that most people haven't cooked with them. And so I'm inclined to say, much in the same way that last week we didn't award any this dish is inspired by points because the whole point of the challenge was like be inspired by something. I'm inclined to say anyone who said like, oh, I haven't worked with this before, let's throw it out the window because that sort of applies to everyone. How do we feel about that?
I think that makes sense to me. Yeah, it was,
yeah.
the point of especially like the cheese challenge, the
Mhm.
cheese getting added. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would be too many people.
Like to me,
Yeah.
part of the larger spirit of a lot of the points is like specificity. So when the point
Mhm.
applies to everyone, I'm like, it's not, it's like too general an application of the rule. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right, right. And that one was like also maybe one where we're like surprised they haven't used it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're all clear there. That's good. Um, the last thing I put under just initial reactions is just that now that I'm paying closer attention to the edit of the show for the first time, I'm realizing how down to the minute, like it's like a
Yeah.
procedural. You know what I
Oh
mean? The way
yeah.
that like you
Oh
watch Law
yeah.
and Order, and
Boom,
like
boom,
at
boom,
minute,
boom, boom. Yeah.
it's there's so much restating of the rules. It's so weird because I catch this on other shows. Like when I watch The Bachelor, first of all, I don't really watch The Bachelor because there is so much of like the last 30 seconds before commercials, like coming up on, and then they'll show you something, and then there's a commercial, and then the first 30 seconds back is like,
Yeah,
here's what
it's
you just
insane.
missed on. And it's like, it's a 2 hour episode that could be 1 hour if you just squished it down. So I catch on so many other shows for some reason. I've always been under the spell of MasterChef. I've never caught that it really is the exact same thing where they restate the rules and the stakes all the time. And it's just now hitting me. So that's my personal revelation.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I know it. I kind of felt that way when I was watching it, and I feel like when we were watching Top Chef, and we were fast because we watched it on YouTube TV, so it's always on, kind of saved.
Yeah.
And fast forwarding through the commercials, it really shows kind of your point more that, and also just the longer length of commercials, because it feels like a much shorter show fast forwarding through it, where like I
Yeah.
still think you felt it with Top Chef how long it was.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I know I just said I don't really watch the Bachelor shows, but I did watch this week's premiere of The Bachelorette because it's the first Asian Bachelorette, and I'm like, I kind of have to. Did either of you watch it?
No, I thought about watching it because it's been
Yeah.
it's kind of a lot of my feed right now. What'd you think? I haven't seen it.
I only bring it up for relevance on this point with this podcast is that at the end of the episode they did the like coming up this season on, and they did a move where I'm like, oh, they're pulling a Sue. There's literally like a mystery man who walks into the mansion,
oh my God, lol.
and he's like, like you see her face, you don't see who it is, but she's like, what is he doing here? And the guys are like chattering, and it's this thing where it's like a guy from Jen's past is like joining the show because he wants a chance at getting her back, and all the other guys who are already on the who have been on the show since the beginning are like, who the fuck is this new guy? And I'm like, oh my God, it's Sue from Top Chef. They're just doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
it's actually Sue from Top Chef.
It's Sue.
Yeah.
Sue and
like,
Jen
I
used
left
to
my
do-
wife after I lost.
But oh my God, yeah, wait, that's okay. And like The Bachelor, like they have kind of pulled that crap before where it's like, oh yeah, somebody from a previous season that, oh, we had a connection, we met at Stagecoach. They are always at Stagecoach. But yeah, and then so interesting, but keeping us guessing.
Yeah, that's a real. There are other podcasts that do fantasy Bachelor, Bachelorette, but in another universe, I would be curious for us to do that. I wouldn't, because again, the show is 2 hours long, and I simply don't have the patience for that. But it was an interesting watch for the first episode. Okay, let's go back to MasterChef here. The challenge on this episode was to do aged foods. You had to include at least 2 aged ingredients in your dish. Rebecca, like we said, safe up on the balcony, and her advantage is halfway through the cook. She gets to give an additional aged ingredient to an entire generation. It's under a cloche. We reveal halfway through it is 18-month aged Stilton, which they used recently on Top Chef. I looked up the challenge. It was from All Stars season 20. They had a Stilton challenge. And even the Top Chefs were like, this is a strong cheese I don't cook with a lot. All of Gen Z did not know what it was. Mert said, what the fuck is Stilton? And the only other thing I know, the only other thing I wrote for the little intro was when they were highlighting like aged ingredients like balsamic or whatever, they highlighted century eggs, and I didn't see a single fucking century egg dish. Nobody. I was like, Arthur, where are you? You should be cooking that Asian ingredient. You know what I mean?
Arthur,
yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's a tough one, I'd imagine, especially if you're like, and I also have to include 2 other aged ingredients. Like, does balsamic go with that?
Right. Yeah. Not a lot goes with it. Yeah. Okay, well, let's dive into the major storylines. We've already kind of talked about, like Mert and Fatima. Let's talk about Rebecca, since she was the one up on the balcony, who is on my team, so I was excited to see her up there. She did her little fake outs with like which generation she's gonna give it to. She gives it to Gen X. Her reasoning being that the millennials are already down a person, Gen Z is already struggling with the aged foods, and Gen X has the strongest cooks and is her biggest competition. Iffy, you and I both have 2 Gen Xers on our team, so we have a vested interest in the Gen Xers doing well.
Yeah.
How did you feel when Gen X was singled out?
I was like, okay, yeah, it's too close to call. Our first episode, episode 0, when we were drafting, we really were kind of gutting for the millennials, and I think we were sleeping on X a bit, and kind of seeing the kind of like turnout. Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, oh yeah, it's maybe maybe we might have been taking this the wrong way. Maybe this is going to be a Gen X boomer season, because when Warren showed up with that classic place and sauntered up there to the judges, got all that praise, I was like, well, this is like 2 weeks in a row that boomers took it.
That's true.
And I hope that next week is Horacio's week. So
man, he really got the only note I took for him this episode was during the little walk around, and Joe goes, have you ever had duck with a mayo-based sauce before? And he looks at his shoes and he's like, no. And like it's the only screen time he got.
So defeated.
I really, that is the one pick on your team where I'm still baffled you picked him. But
look, I wanted a boomer. I didn't want to leave without a boomer. Sure. And I did want Rebecca, but you took Rebecca. So
all mine,
I
baby.
went with Horacio.
You couldn't take number 1, so you went to number 5.
Wait, is Geeks better though?
No, I don't trust Geeks.
I don't trust Geeks,
especially with the health and then the making the greasiest meat I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
It's like a bad angle and a bad execution on that angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why, maybe Horacio is going to have a comeback. We're going to see that frown turned upside down.
But for your sake, I hope so.
Right. Yeah. Right now, he is the Charlie Brown of the show.
Well, okay, he's one of the Charlie Browns. I had another note somewhere here where Christopher got the kind of like Humpty Dumpty music. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like on every reality show, there's one character who gets like the dumpy tuba music, like a fat sad dog walking in the rain. You know what I mean? Like, why do the editors hate him so much?
I mean, I will say, I don't know if I even really noticed that. It just kind of meshed very well into his vibe, and I just noticed that I'm like, he just has the saddest face. Like when he's sad, you really feel it.
Yeah.
I think he just has like a very round face, very emotive, and then when he was sad because he was on the bottom, it was like, oh no, this like cartoon character man is sad. I can tell. I can feel it through the screen.
Yeah. Joe said his dish looked like it was plated at a buffet line, and I'm like, don't kick the guy while he's down.
Yeah, he's trying his best.
Yeah, I mean the whole bottom, like they really of course, I think aren't maybe used to taking criticism while their adrenaline's peaking and everything too.
Yeah.
But it's like the tears, oh my gosh, and like just
Oh,
the
that
full
was
sadness
rough.
is really
Yeah.
there. And I think it's,
Yeah.
it's almost more than I expected, I think, because I just assumed they wouldn't take it as hard because they're not like it's not their career
Yeah.
yet, I guess. But it
Well,
was
yeah, I
definitely
think
surprising.
with the Gen Zers and millennials, they're closer to like if this worked for them, they're switching it up. Like I
Cool.
feel like everyone like Gen X and Boomers kind of take it on the chin, and I think for a lot of the millennials and Gen Zers, they're like, oh no, this is the thing that will let me know if I should actually pursue this or not.
Right. A
Yeah.
lot of careers are going to be made or broken
Broken.
on the younger half of the
Yes.
cast.
Speaking about careers being made or broken, my buddy, who started listening specifically because he's been told that I've been mentioning him, so I will say him by
Shout
name,
out.
Scott.
Hi,
So,
Scott.
he sent me the list he made after hearing me talk about the stories, and he made MasterChef stories.
Okay.
And the first one is first time San Diego. The dish was, oh man, herb chevre stuffed chicken, purple mashed potatoes, seared green beans. What cuisine do you cook? And the difficulty of just being a fat white dude who cooks and eats anything. And he has as another note, broken AC, and everyone,
Oh.
yeah.
Wait,
And
okay, just to contextualize this. This was the dish he made for his audition?
yeah. So the dish he
Okay.
made the first time was the herb chevre stuffed chicken with purple mashed potatoes and seared green
Okay.
beans.
Okay.
And when he was asked what cuisine do you cook, yeah, I think he has the hits. We're gonna need a voice note, Scott. We're gonna need a breakdown.
Yeah.
And and then the other last bullet for the first time is everyone sharing recipes. Uncle Jimbo smoked fish dip, Brussels sprouts lady. So he's this is his talking points. And
Wow.
then
Okay.
Los Angeles, the second time, the dish was salmon croûte, and
Okay.
taking shortcuts and lying about it, taking your culture's food and bastardizing it. And he has gefilte fish guy.
Okay,
Comments
yeah, yeah.
from comments from casting was nice knife skills, even though I
Okay.
cut off at least 3 fingertips.
Okay.
And everyone's weird cold ass food. So
Weird.
so
Interesting.
yeah, there's a beat sheet. Maybe that'll be a bonus episode or something where
Hmm.
we get to get the insight on the audition experience for this
Okay.
show.
I have two things. First of all, why didn't he just say he makes French food? Those are both French, like stuffing
Yeah,
chèvre into
there it
chicken
is.
breast. That's
Oh yeah.
chicken cordon bleu based. It's a French dish. It's a riff on a French
Okay.
dish. And then fish en croûte is another French preparation of. It's like fish wrapped in pastry and baked. And it's like just say French food. Like the producers want you to have an easy answer. Just say French.
Okay. Look,
Uh,
I think what we do is we hear Scott out, we give him our notes, and
I
then he
can't. Yeah,
auditions again.
yeah, and then
And
he'll
then
get
if he
on.
Right.
makes it, that'll be the first TV Chef Fantasy League
That's right.
sponsored.
That's right. We'll make him wear our
Nice.
shirt on every
Yeah,
episode.
It's like you gotta wear the shirt.
Okay, the second thing I was going to say is his last bullet point was everyone's weird cold food. I told you I had a friend who did MasterChef and got
Yes.
eliminated very early. What's up, Sam? I remember he was talking about how like when they're doing that judging, their plates are just sitting there. So it's like the judges are eating lukewarm food
Gross.
all
No
day.
way. No
Yeah.
way.
So I think that's what your
tough.
friend meant by like everyone's weird cold food is like the time between when it's done cooking and when it actually touches someone's mouth is so long because it's like television production takes a long time. And so the judges are just eating lukewarm food the
Oh
whole day.
no.
And we were just talking about how that's not like the best way to even,
Yeah.
Right.
like judge the food.
Yeah.
Talk about travel time and I guess make lots
Yeah.
of stews. That's the
Which is
shortcut.
also, now that I think about it, it's kind of weird because whenever we're talking steaks or duck breast or whatever, they always get on people about like giving enough resting time. And it's like, well, it's going to have like 3 hours of resting time because you're not going to touch it for 3 hours. You know what I mean? But I guess you can tell. You can still tell whether it was rested right after cooking and before
Yeah.
plating.
I
Yeah.
see.
All right. Speaking of duck breast, let's talk about Becca. Sierra, this is your one of your top picks here. She started real confident.
Yeah.
And I mean, she ends up in the top, but there was a lot of drama with her wrapping the duck breast and
Yeah.
prosciutto. Joe, the least accomplished cook in the kitchen, calls out that's not going to work because she should have rendered the fat first. The fat's going to boil and steam in there. She unwraps it. I got really worried. How are you feeling about Becca during this process?
I mean, because she's obviously always been really good at articulating what she's doing and being good on TV, and so that's kind of why I wanted her. And then in the last episode, she did it, but then didn't really stand out. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe not so good. And then this episode did again. So again, I was worried. I was like, well, she could talk the talk, but like, I guess is she able to walk the walk?
The answer is a resounding yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think also the big win here for her was that she was able to pivot and kind of understand when they asked her questions or eyed her prosciutto that like, hey, this isn't going to work, and didn't just like power straight ahead with the thing that was her original idea. And I think that's, I mean, that's valuable in all aspects of life, but I think specifically for our chef shows, we know pivoting is important.
Yeah, and she's cooking without ego. She's allowing, notes to come in. I mean, it was wild seeing the the prosciutto wrapped duck just kind of hit there, and it just looks so wet and moist. But there was a part of my brain that was like, oh, there's a world in which this is going to taste great, because you let that prosciutto, fat.
Well, I think that the judges kind of touched on that. It seemed like I don't want to say a happy accident, because I don't want to ascribe it to anything other than her talent. I don't want to say she lucked into it, but they did touch on the fact that it's like the prosciutto sort of seasoned the duck. You know what I mean? They're like, you got the salt from the prosciutto. Right. So the fact that it was wrapped in prosciutto didn't do nothing,
Yeah.
Right. That was just like the marinade.
Yes.
She should have said prosciutto marinated duck breast.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about my big failure this week, Sunshine. This is where it's like, this feels like classic fantasy sports talk. What happened out there? My guy choked. You know what I mean? Like
Sunshine.
They talked about how she just froze. The Stilton really threw her for a loop, just stood around not knowing what to do. Didn't start her steak for 40 minutes. Like when they said there's 20 minutes left, you haven't started cooking your steak. I'm like, what have you been doing for 40 minutes? Were you really just staring at the Stilton, wondering what to do with it?
Yeah.
She was giving very like flustered Jennifer Coolidge vibes. And I think even like she kind of does have that like voice or something, mannerisms that is kind of similar. So it really worked for that character.
This is so interesting.
Under stress.
The actress of a similar age reference that I wrote down for this episode was Kimberly, because I feel like, where's my notes on Kimberly? I wrote down, I don't know what Kimberly's character is yet. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone kind of has their character, like Mert's the villain. We get that. Kimberly, I don't have a firm grasp on like what her character game is, to put it in sketch comedy terms. All that I wrote is she reminds me of a Megan Mullally character. You know what I mean?
Oh,
She's sort of a weirdo, sort of like non sequitur jokes. She talked like her bit in this episode was, when I was 18, I met a French guy, spent my summers in France. I ate Stilton all the time. The stinkier, the better. And I was like, this feels like Megan Mullally doing a bit.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a great comparison. And the voice, she has the higher pitched
she has the high
so
voice.
Like very fun to, she can kind of be, it sounds wackier maybe than she is because of her voice.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, what were we talking about? Sunshine? Sunshine. Okay. We haven't even touched on the fact that her gratin started smoking in the oven. I was at that point, I'm like, you're a cartoon character. It's like Lucy in the kitchen with the chocolates. Like everything is going wrong.
Oh.
Anyway, okay, the last thing I want to say about Sunshine before we get to the tops and bottoms is she had this line where she said, in Native American culture, we do a lot of preserving. So these aged ingredients are not new to me, which again, I'm going to argue is not the same thing as saying I make this all the time. She's just saying,
no,
there is preservation in my culture.
I agree.
Okay, great. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay, who else are we talking about? Kamei, Iffy, your team. The only thing I wrote for her is like, once again, give her her own show.
She's so ready. I love, yeah, she's really eaten up, and it's so funny because I feel like they're even trying to downplay it just so it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like they're playing favorites.
Yeah.
But I do think there's an element where they're like, but she's got it.
She had this little bit I wrote down. She talks about how she's going for 4 ingredients, even though the requirement is only to do 2. And then she kind of like does her little sly wink to the camera and she goes, also, it's a cheat code because in case one doesn't work out, I want to make sure I still had enough ingredients. And I'm like,
Yes.
she has the same vibes as like Rachel Ray. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
want her in my kitchen teaching me how to cook.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gonna come out of here with something. That's one thing I know. I'm like, okay, you know what you want, and you're gonna do everything you need to do to get it happen.
I agree. Okay, I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about Anna. I want to talk about one weird bit with Anna, which is Joe. Once again, someone please get Joe a writer. Joe walks up and he's like, "Hey, are you going to keep cooking these restaurant quality dishes? You know, where's the borscht?" And I'm like, "Is he hitting on her? This is a weird sort of like." It's like it's a compliment to be like, "Are you going to keep cooking us excellent dishes?" And then to like poke it like her, you know, like, "Why don't you make me something Ukrainian?" And I'm like, this rubs me the wrong way. I can't put my finger on it. The call's coming from inside the house. I don't like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he's just really trying to make something happen. And to be honest, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either.
Yeah.
Sierra, Anna's on your team. What's your read on this?
It didn't make much of an alarm go off for me at the time,
Okay.
but I see what you mean. I think also like he is kind of grating, and so I'm kind of just like expecting grating things to come. And like,
Yeah.
villain, like he's supposed to be the harshest one, I guess. So, he kind of can't even give a compliment, even if it's like a compliment, So I feel like that's what I've expected. It's like, okay, if he wants to compliment someone, he has to say something weird and undercutting after, or like not
Yeah.
totally fully complimentary. So maybe that's what I interpreted as, but I will keep an eye out for the weird,
I'm not trying. I
creepiness.
don't want to like put him on the defense. Like I'm not saying he's a weird guy. I'm just like this is 2 weeks in a row where his bits just like are not landing.
Yeah.
I'm like, give him a studio audience or something.
Yeah. I mean, he's just like, and this will maybe change if he ever starts listening, but he's just unlikable. Every time I see Joe, it's not a good time. I'm like, I don't like the Simon Cowell energy you're trying to bring.
Sure.
Everyone else is so like uplifting and like having fun, and and he's trying to, but he just comes with this energy that I'm like, I ain't trying to hear all that.
I feel like he has to. Have any of you guys ever taken clowning classes? It's like
No.
in clowning, there's like, the high status clown, the middle status clown, the low status clown. And I feel like it's sort of the same thing with the 3 judges where it's like, because these 3 have not been the judges the whole time. The only consistent one has been Gordon Ramsay, but the other 2 have like swapped out. And I feel like you've always got to have like one very nice one middle one, and one very mean one. And that sometimes they'll change. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It's like Joe's trying to find that mean one, but then it's definitely, I think the vibes too are a little bit like, it's maybe if it were more effortlessly like, oh, he is a mean critical guy, but actually he's got a heart of gold. Like I get behind that.
Yeah.
But it's like he's trying to be mean, so then you're kind of not trusting that he's actually mean, but then you're also like, well, wait, why are you trying to be mean in the first place? So there, I feel like if we were in the same room or same, if I was seeing this man as a regular friend or something, it would be like, oh, I don't want to be around that because it's just gonna be awkward and just weird vibes all the time. So avoid at all costs.
My pitch is next season they shuffle up the statuses, and I think Joe should try being the nice one. You know what I mean? I want to see Joe just give out compliments left and right. Every dish, you're doing great. Big cheerleader. It might work
better for him.
Yeah.
And let Aaron Sanchez be the mean one. Just every dish. It's like, this hurts my palate.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, let's talk about the closer look dishes. We can start with Anna because we were just talking about her. She oil poached a snapper, which is smart because the aging process removes the moisture. The oil poach adds it back in. The chorizo sauce tasted great. Everyone liked it. Any other thoughts on Anna?
I just was impressed that she had the instinct to oil poach from the start. She does seem to have like a little more understanding of fine cooking or whatever than the average person. So I never heard of that, didn't know that. And then the fact that they complimented that she knew to do that for the aged drier fish, that was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, Anna really came out on top this episode, really looking like a pro. And this was all the moves that she made, I was very impressed by.
Great. We've already talked about a few of these. We talked about Becca already and
Yep.
how she pivoted and, she put together a nice plate. We kind of talked about Kimberly, but she made a duck breast with Stilton and chive mashed potatoes, blueberry and orange sauce. Everyone really liked the blueberry and orange sauce.
Mhm.
There was an editing bit where Joe said, this next person that we're about to take a closer look at wasn't shaken by the additional ingredient. And then they cut to Sunshine as if to say, like, this dummy was, you know what I mean? It was like a little bit of mean
Brutal.
editing for Sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
But everyone liked Kimberly's duck. And then the only one we haven't talked about is Warren with his New York strip, cauliflower and pecorino. It's puree, but I wanted to note that he pronounces puree like purry. And I was like, did that strike anyone else as weird?
Yeah. I was like,
I think I didn't realize it was supposed to be puree.
It's like he said it once and I was like, oh, maybe he's just like talking fast, but he kept saying cauliflower purry. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah. No, that's just what he calls it. And when you win, you can call it whatever you want. So it
I
is purry.
guess.
Next time I'm at a restaurant, that's what I'm gonna say when I order it. I want some of that.
That is how it's
Some of that
spelled.
puree.
You are not.
It makes me feel the way I guess other people feel about the word moist. Do you know what I mean? Which, like, I hate that sentence. That to me is like a boring opinion, when you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I hate the word moist, I'm like, I understand what you're saying. I don't agree. But then when I heard him say purry, I was like, ugh, my skin is crawling in a weird way about something that doesn't affect me at all. But I don't like it.
That's so funny. Yeah, you're like, okay, I see now. I was wrong.
I get it.
Right.
I was wrong. I admit it. Joe made fun of him for adding another aged ingredient there, which is a boiled egg, because who puts a boiled egg on a steak dish? Gordon says a flight attendant. I thought was pretty good. That's pretty good. Joe also talks about his very 1987 compound butter on top, and Warren's like, hello, that was my year. That was a moment where I was like, I think that Joe meant for that to be an insult, and Warren was like, I love it.
Yeah.
Love Warren. Love the great attitude.
Yeah.
I want to see pictures from 1987 of Warren. What he was up to.
I'm sure we'll get them. I'm sure
it.
we'll, I want like Warren through the decades, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. I just know young Warren was just crushing it. Young Warren was June was never the same, like like young Warren was killing the game. He's my favorite, and that's probably the one person I really do regret not drafting, because I feel like we're kindred spirits, we're flashy, we're charismatic.
Okay.
And we like, like I was like, damn. All right.
Sierra, I think that was a hot pick for you, because I think Iffy and I both felt that same thing as soon as you got him, which is like, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like just has the, two-piece, the personality and the dope like cooking skills so far.
Yeah. He can walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah.
But he did not take the top honors this week. The winner this week was Anna, which means the millennials are safe, and the other three generations have to face the bottom. We already kind of talked about Fatima. We kind of talked about someone crying, but we didn't specifically say it was Fatima who cried. And I was like, on the one hand, I feel bad, but on the other hand, man, I was not surprised when she was called to the bottom. Because reading the description now, again, salmon and kimchi balls with spaghetti and miso buttered asparagus. And I'm like, look, okay, I was not down with salmon and kimchi being chopped up and served over spaghetti. But once you said the thing about like, okay, it's like a cultural flavor profile, sure. But then I'm like, where the fuck does miso fit into that too? It's like a hat on a hat on a hat. You know what I mean?
People are taking swings, big old swings.
Yeah.
Wild swings.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just supposed to let it just get caught in the mitt and be a ball. You're not supposed to swing at every pitch, but they did.
Yeah. I think she will, like, because she's a doctor and she's young, and she'll probably be able to learn from this in a way that I think maybe others might not, in the sense of simpler, maybe
I hope
doing
so. Yeah,
doing like,
don't do
the
your little
easier
TikTok
path.
recipes.
Yeah, you don't have to like, maybe she's used to like overperforming, right? And like
Yeah.
Yeah.
going above and beyond. It's like, actually, you can do
I'm
less
curious.
here.
Now, I mean, it'd probably be easy to find. I kind of want to find that post where she's like, I made something similar to this and it got 6 million views. And I'm like, did it get 6 million hate
Oh,
views?
right.
Were all the
Yeah,
comments like, this looks
confused comments.
disgusting? Yeah.
Yeah, the views
Right.
on TikTok isn't, just solely good.
Yeah.
Sometimes there is a music video that I watched multiple times that had lots of views specifically because it was so bad. Someone said it was probably unironically the worst song they've heard of all time. Not even just funny or a joke song, just the worst song. And I agree after watching it.
Well, now I'm curious. You gotta send
Oh yeah,
that
I'm gonna
link.
drop it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
drop it in.
Great. While you're doing that, we already talked about Sunshine. I did not drop. See, okay, this is proof that Aaron Sanchez should play the bad judge. He said the gratin tasted like butane, and I was
Butane.
like, that is a fucking, no pun intended, a sick burn.
Oh my God. I was really, yeah, when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's not good. You
You're
don't
not
want to hear
recovering
that.
from that. Yeah, that's like
Yeah,
an
that was
instant.
rough.
She's going home. Stop the show. We can end it here.
Yeah.
We know she's going home.
Yeah. Butane.
Yeah, and and then also they cut into her steak because of course she cooked it in like 1 second, and like that fat was just solid white,
Oh,
like not
rough.
cooked in the
Yeah.
slightest. I was like,
Yeah,
God,
like
that is
fresh from the
bad.
grocery store.
It's like, I think you're done here. I think you
Yeah,
you goofed.
yeah. She had a good attitude about it. She was
Mhm.
she was like, you don't know how hard it is until you're here. I'm like, I get that. That's what everyone on every competition show says. It's way harder when you're there, and she was proud that she got to the show. I'm skipping ahead just because we already kind of talked about Christopher. Anything else we want to say about Christopher other than that he looked like a sad dog?
No,
He's a
yeah,
sad cartoon character.
he was a sad guy and
Like
he
a little,
messed it up.
yeah. Oh, poor guy. But
And
yeah.
just as a warning, there's a big butt and a G string in this music video. Just didn't want to catch anyone
good.
off guard.
Okay. Let's get through the recording and then we'll tag this on the end if we have time.
Good, perfect.
I'm curious.
Okay. Oh yeah. I will say too, though, Sunshine. As a final compliment to Sunshine, she was rocking like a cool shirt that I felt like was like almost Gen Z style. Like she was like kind of wearing like it wasn't mesh, but like how the style for a bit was like mesh turtlenecks or faux turtlenecks.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I think it's fair to come out and say
that.
it that Sunshine was definitely, like, if we were doing like a side competition, one of the hotter competitors, and went out with a bang.
Yeah, definitely went out with a bang. Not happy about the fact that she went out, period, because for the second week in a row, I have someone on my team going home. I'm now down 1/3 of my team. We are 2 episodes in, and I have lost 33% of my team is gone. I feel like I'm going to have an iffy season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh God. God
well, yeah, I get it. I earned that title, and it was a very rough season for me, but it looks like I'm bouncing back, and as long as we don't let Sierra get too much of a lead, I think I can stay in it.
Yeah, well, we've got the MasterChef season is longer than the Top Chef season, so we've got a lot of game ahead of us. So not worried about it. We get a preview of next week. Next week we're cooking. Here we go. I don't know if you guys saw the preview for next week. We're cooking for 101 soccer players. And,
oh baby!
And we're gonna get
a disaster.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna get the point. One of my favorite points. Gordon not only throws a protein, he kicks a steak like a soccer ball. Drop kicks a steak across the field, and I'm like, I cannot wait for this episode.
Yes.
Okay, let's do our points breakdown. He did practice it. Let's do our points breakdown. You can find our scoring rules again on our Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League. This week, the closer looks were Becca, Anna, Kimberly, and Warren. They get a half point each. Anna wins. That is 1 point, which means at the end of this episode, Iffy, you gain 0 points, which again, we're early. That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I gain a half a point. Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
Oh, yeah. Say, hey, I got points last week. Mm-hmm. And, this week was a week that I'm just happy to not have lost my positioning.
Yes, exactly. Hard to lose positioning when you're still in last place, but I agree with the sentiment. This week I gain a half point. Sierra, you gain 2.5 points. How are you feeling about that?
Wow. Feeling good. Yeah, I was, worried last week because didn't get any points, and I thought I chose well, and I've been affirmed that
Yes,
these choices are good.
Statistically, 3 out of the 4 of the closer look dishes this week were on your team. So you really know how to pick them. That's great. So our current total scores as of right now, Iffy, you're in last place with a half a point. Sierra, you're in second place with 2.5. I am in the lead by 3, but again, still early. And again, I'm down by 1/3 of my team. So
Yeah.
still anyone's game. All right. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, drop us a line on Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League. If you're doing your own MasterChef Fantasy League, please tag us. We want to see your teams. For full unedited episodes, you can check us out on YouTube. Thanks again to my co-hosts, Sierra Kato and Iffy Wadiway. We will be back next week, still via Zoom because I am traveling to the UK next week. But we will be in the same room at some point in the near future. Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I do kind of want to listen to this song.
Just listen to it. Also, I'm looking at Sunshine's Instagram, and some of these dishes that she's posting, I'm like, yo.
The first shot was this thong shot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But
right
wait till
away,
you hear this man's voice.
Oh!
Oh, it only has 129,000 views. It should have more.
I can't listen to this whole thing. I'm losing my mind.
The
Hotel room. The walls in this hotel are thin. I cannot laugh that hard. That is insane.
Yeah, the person was like, this is objectively probably one of the worst songs I've ever heard.
This is incredible. I can't wait to share this with every person at every party I will ever be at for the rest of my life.
Oh my God.
I'm downloading this video to my phone just so I have it available to play. If I ever lose cell reception, if the big earthquake hits, I want to play this for people to lift their spirits.
Yeah. This is like a guaranteed, bring everybody big grins.
Okay, great. All right. We have our reaction on tape in case there's time to throw that in. I should read the credits real quick. TV Chef Fantasy League is a Maximum Fun production. Our producer is Valerie Moffat. Our theme song is by Dylan Van Auken. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at TV Chef Fantasy League.